Hi, I'm Greg Knighton with BTOD.com, and today we're going to be showing you how to assemble your VertDesk V3 Plus with a lifting capacity of 450 pounds. As we look at the first page, you'll see tools required for assembly. Letter A is a power driver with adjustable torque, or for short, a cordless drill. This is something that we highly recommend as it's much easier to drive the screws into the wood work surface. B is a tape measure. C is a number 2 Phillips head driver bit. You'll see that D lists a number 2 square head driver bit and it's recommended. Now this is because it is easier to use that bit when drilling the screws into the work surface. So we'd highly recommend that you use that as an alternative to the Phillips bit. As we go through the rest of the parts here, you'll see hardware and tools included for assembly. Those are also listed. And then we have things like VertDesk parts, which will include things like your cross support, UChannel, and such. So we're now ready to jump ahead to step 1 in the process of the assembly of your VertDesk V3 Plus. As we begin step 1, we want to take note of a few quick things. Number 1, you can see we have our work surface laid out here on another work surface. This is protected with a moving blanket. That's important. You can see that our surface is upside down so that the pilot holes are facing toward you. You also want to take note of the things that we're using here. We both have the right and the left hand leg assembly, and we have 2 motors and 2 of the short hex rods. Now as we move into this first step here, I do want to talk about the motors because there are 2 motors for this assembly. So you'll notice when we look at these motors, I'll show you first what is the left leg assembly. You can see that the bracket is actually on the right hand side of the motor, with the motor facing out and away from you, which is on the left hand side of the bracket. Now if we were to show you the right motor assembly, you can see it's the exact opposite. With the bracket on the left hand side, we have the motor on the right hand side, and again with the motor facing away from you. We're now ready to go ahead and start the assembly process of the first motor, which will be the left leg assembly. After we've laid our work surface on a protected work surface, we're ready to move into the leg assembly attaching our motor to our leg. The first leg we'll start with is the left leg assembly. Now you'll know which leg is which because we have labels on the leg itself. You can see the support bracket here, it lists it as a left leg. My recommendation is actually to take this leg and lay it down. It makes it easier for you to actually see down into the input for the gear. So we've got this laid down on its side. We'll want to take our left motor assembly, and again we want to look at the bracket, having the bracket to the right of the motor is to the left of the bracket with the motor away from you. And you can actually see here as I bring this down over the leg how that would work. It's away from you, and again the motor is on the left hand side. We have a short hex rod here. The first thing we do with this is we want to insert it on the bracket side for the left leg assembly. So as we slide this in, you'll see there's some left exposed. This is the part that will actually be going down into the input for the gear. And now that that's slid in place, we're ready to move on and repeat the same step for the right hand leg assembly. And I'll do the same thing here. I lay it on its side, it just makes it a little bit easier for the process. And again, when we look at this motor and we see where the bracket is, the motor is away from us and the motor is on the right side of the bracket. We can see how it will attach here. We want to insert the hex rod into the motor first. Once we've done that, simply flip it over, slide it into the input for the gear. Now that that's slid in place, we're ready to bring the leg assembly up and move on to the next step. As we move to step 3, we will be attaching our motors to the leg assemblies. Before we do that, we want to go over the parts or tools that will be required to complete this process. Our 1/4 by 5/8 inch bolt, and then 4 locking washers. So you should have a set of 4 of each of these. I've got these pre-assembled. We're now ready to go ahead and actually attach these. I would highly recommend these start by hand tightening them first. Then we'll go ahead and use our 4mm Allen wrench to fully tighten them down. So you can see as we take a closer look here, I have the bolt And I'll insert it into the mounting part here on our upper support. You can see it's threaded, tightens down nicely. There's also one on the other side. It looks just the same. And now that we've got these securely hand tightened down, we can again use our Allen wrench to get these nice and secure. With the 4 bolts connected securely, we're now ready to move on to step 4. For step 4, we will be attaching what is called the UChannel support. Now this is for adding rigidity to your work surface. Because this desk is rated up to 450 pounds, we highly recommend that you add this to your own work surface if you're doing it DIY and just buying our frame, or if you are using our work surface, we definitely want to recommend it there as well. Now if you are using our work surface, we do have pre-drilled holes here for assembly. This makes it easier to make alignment for your U-channel with your legs. Additionally, we do include wood screws. These are self-tapping wood screws, which makes it a little bit easier for them to go and drive into the surface. These are 5/8 inch long, so if you are using your own work surface, make sure that they won't poke out the other side of the surface. So as we go ahead and get this set for assembly, you will notice that this part is actually directional. The U-channel has holes that are closer on one end than on the other end. And the side that has the holes closest to the end of the U-channel should be closest to the left leg assembly. And again, you can cheat by looking at the label on the leg itself. Once I have this aligned with my pre-drilled holes on the bottom of my work surface, I'm ready to go ahead and attach with the wood screws using my number 2 square head bit, because this is again a process that's much easier done with the number 2 square head bit. Now, depending on how you feel about this, you can start in one corner, go to the other corner, make sure that they're square. We do allow for some additional tolerance there so that these things will line up nicely for you as you assemble them. And you can hear that torque setting. I like to have it at about a 4 or 5. That's just so that we don't strip out the holes as we're attaching the wood screws. And now that I've got 2 of them in there, I'm ready to go ahead and finish up. Now that we've completed the assembly of the U-channel support, we're ready to move on to the next step. For step 5, we will be attaching our cross support to both of the leg assemblies. I have the cross support here. The way I recommend doing it is just so you want to take and slide the cross support across one side, and then should be able to actually slide it back over the other mounting bracket. Now this should align nicely if you have pre-drilled holes aligned to the leg assemblies. You can see on this desk I do have that set up nicely. This is just for guidance. It doesn't have to be that way. And then you will want to make sure that these holes are aligned nicely. It's important as we move on to the next step here, which is going to be using our bolts. You can see I have what's listed as J for our bolt and our locking washer. This you want to make sure you don't fully tighten as we move on to that step. So we'll want to hand tighten all 4 first. Now that we've hand tightened the 4 bolts on the cross support, connecting them to the legs, we're ready to attach the legs to the work surface. So we'll want to go ahead and take our 5/8 inch self-tapping wood screw. We'll need 16 of them, 8 for each leg, and we can go ahead and fully tighten these down to the work surface. But make sure that you do have everything properly aligned before you actually start to fully tighten the wood screws down. What I do like to do is go to the opposite corners here before I fully tighten all of the screws down. This is just to ensure that all of the pre-drilled holes stay aligned throughout the assembly process. Now that we've attached our legs to the work surface with the wood screws, we're ready to go back to the cross support and fully tighten down the 4 bolts. It's very important here that you do fully tighten these down, as this will help tremendously with the stability of the desk. Now that we have our control box and our wire management in the position that we would like them to mount, we're ready to go ahead and attach it. We'll be using the 4 wood screws. These do have a smaller head than the standard self-tapping wood screws that we've used for the rest of the assembly. Before we attach this though, I do think it's important to cover the fact that I know I mentioned that you can put these items, specifically the control box, sort of wherever you want, between the legs or in the front of the desk, depending on your space required. It is important that it remains parallel with the desk. This is because of the GyroSense technology and how it understands itself for collision avoidance. Let's go ahead and attach that control box to the desk. Now that we've attached our control box, we're ready to place our wire management. Make sure that you like the placement because we are using a 3M adhesive that allows for this to stick very well and it becomes difficult to pull off, and it will not reattach once you've removed the backing of the tape. So we'll go ahead and remove the backing of the tape now and attach this here. Press down firmly on it to make sure that it's connected nicely. Once we have our wire management attached to the bottom side of our desk, we're ready to attach the switch to the desk as well. You'll see here we do have our standard up and down switch. If you've ordered the programmable switch, that will be included in place of the 2-button switch. So we'll take the warning label, move that out of the way, and we'll align this to the holes on what is the left-hand side of the desk when it's upright. Again, this is opposite of you today as you watch the video. And we will be using the same screws that we used to attach the control box for the switch. Before I go ahead and fully attach the button or the switch to the desk, I do want to make note of one thing. We do have pre-drilled holes only on one side. This doesn't necessarily mean that you can only attach the switch to that side. Really, it's up to you where you'd like to attach the switch. The only thing is that you won't have pre-drilled holes if you decide to put it somewhere else on the desk. Now that we've attached our switch, we're ready to use the cord clip and another 5/8 inch wood screw. These are the standard 5/8 self-tapping wood screws that we used for the majority of the assembly of the desk. What we do is we actually take the cord clip and slide this on to the switch. Now there are not pre-drilled holes here for this, so we'll just want to attach this wherever we really feel most comfortable with it being. I like to kind of bring it up by the upper support of the left leg assembly. Once we've found a good place for it, we can go ahead and screw that down and mount this. Now that our switch, control box, and our cord clip are properly attached to the desk, we're ready to start inserting the cords to make the desk operational. The first cord that we will start with will be the left motor, again, left leg assembly. These do have ties on them. So for this one, probably want to just pull a little bit of the cord out since it is close to the motor. Keep that nice and tidy. Now there are two different inputs on the control box. For this part, it really doesn't matter which one that you use. So we'll go ahead and insert the first motor. It should click into place. We now can take the other motor and do the same. Once that's clicked into place, we're ready to attach the final cord, which is going to be your power cord. Once our power cord has been inserted into the control box, we're ready to flip the desk over and do the startup procedure. These desks are heavy, so we do recommend that you get some help from a second set of hands. Now that the desk has been flipped over, we're ready to proceed with the startup operation. The first thing that you'll see with the VertDesk Plus, it does have a white label here. These are a set of warning instructions and a couple links for you to read further on the operation of the VertDesk. Because it is a powerful desk and it has a one-touch functionality, you do need to read those instructions before you can actually enable the one-touch functionality. So we'll go ahead and we'll pull that off of there. And once we've got that taken off of the switch, we can do the startup procedure. It's very simple. All you need to do is press and hold the down button. You'll see that the desk does move down and upward. It has now calibrated itself and it's ready for normal operation. We'll go ahead and press the up button. And the desk is working properly. Thank you for watching the assembly video of the VertDesk V3 Plus. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Our customer service team is happy to help. Thanks for watching.